Hey there, it's Jace. You're going to see a video coming up of me doing an install, swap out really, of an AGM and an install of an ultra-slim lithium battery. So I just wanted to apologise in advance. So this is my first video that I've sort of ever made and put together. When I watched it back and I was stringing it together and checking it out, I did find that I moved the camera around or the phone around a lot, you know, moving side to side. Didn't really realise how this would affect the picture at the time, but obviously I appreciate your patience if you're going to watch this video, so I do apologise in advance for what's coming up. Hey, it's Jace here. Yeah, looking to install a Lithium Ultra-Slim 105 amp hour battery from Kickass in the back of my Cruiser here. Currently I've got an AGM 140 amp hour in a battery box in the back, which you'll see shortly, and with all the wiring and the solar panel and everything ready to go. I know that some people consider changing their two main batteries under the crank batteries under the bonnet, making one the main crank battery and the other one a secondary or accessory battery, save having to put a battery in the back here. Good for AGMs, I guess. There's a little bit of muck around with wiring, but it's not impossible, obviously. But with lithiums, I want to go away from AGM now, and lithiums are getting better and better in price and more reliable. There's good warranties with them. Problem is, I think there's some, still a bit of conjecture about being able to put a lithium battery under the bonnet. So, and obviously being exposed to the heat from the motor and that sort of thing too. So I've already got the wiring and everything down the back here too, so I'm just going to mount it down the back. And the whole point of this exercise is to remove my current AGM battery, which I've had for a couple of years or a bit more, and it's starting to fail, and replace it with a lithium, which will do me for the next few years at least, maybe longer. This is my setup at the moment. It's been really good for the last two and a half years. However, the battery is beginning to lose its capacity, so when stationary now it sits at about 12.5 volts, should be around about 4.9, side to 13 ideally, which it was when it was first new. However, over the last couple of years it's dropped down to about 12.5. I think that probably means it's probably about 70-80% of what it could be. So the plan is to remove this to actually free up some space and install, obviously remove this battery here, and install a new ultra-slim 105 amp hour Kickass battery up against the side here, so it's sort of up above the wheel arch and sort of out of the way, so when you go to put stuff in the back there, it's not going to be a problem. Now, as you can probably see, my fridge sort of lives here at the moment. I did have a big compartment for a bigger fridge, but now we've got a van that's in the van. We have a smaller fridge that goes in the back here. But even still, this battery is sort of struggling to power that fridge. Overnight drops down to about 12.2 or 12 volts overnight before it charges back up during the day. And obviously if it's a bit cloudy, then it can sort of struggle to regain that charge throughout the next day for the next night sort of thing. Okay, so I've just pulled this back strip off here. Along there, that just pops off, so you get your hand underneath it and pop it out. I've also removed the seal so I get my fingers under there and pop it out. Now, I'm gonna have to pull this side panel off and have a look and see what's going on in there, see where I can mount this other battery. So to do that, I've just got to pop this down. So push that little button down there and that should pop straight out. Just like that. So get this panel out that goes all the way down through down near that step there, so I'm going to have to pull off one of the covers down there, and I'll show you that in a sec. Okay, so that panel, this side panel here, runs all the way down through here, so we've got to take this panel off along here. So to do that, you just get on this little thing here, pop it out, and then grab your ratchet with a 10mm and undo it. Okay, so now that's out, you just grab your fingers under here, and that should pull out from over here. A bit hard with one hand, and slip it out like that. Okay, so I'm going to have to take this seatbelt mount off as well. So to do that, you just get your fingers underneath there, lift it off the bottom and slide down and out. to expose the bolt. All right, so now we're up to take a look at this big panel here. To do that, you just sort of grab at the bottom and sort of pull it out the side and the top. It's a bit hard with my hand, but see how we go. There we go. So it just pops away. And you better peel that off and take it away. Well, you might be asking, what am I doing bothering taking this off in the first place? Well, I want to make this a pretty schmicky job, even though this is a GX, so lowest on the rank when it comes to the models for the 200 series cruisers. These sections here pull out and they're screwed in back here, you can see. So I'm going to remove all that, and then I'm going to make some sort of really nice bracket if I can, to be able to mount the lithium battery up against this panel here, because we don't use this obviously. It's only meant for 7-seaters, and this never came out as a 7-seater, it's only a 5-seater. So it's a little bit of wasted space, but I want to be able to make it look really good as best as I can anyway with my skills, and utilise as much of the space and free up what I can in this back area. Okay, so I've just brought the battery still in its packaging down to the vehicle, and on the way down, this was delivered yesterday, so on the way down I did notice that there was a couple of serious dings in it, one here and one here. I'm just hoping that it doesn't affect the battery. And then I'm going to have a look-see and see how well packaged this is. Okay, I've just stood it up and cut the top tape off, and to be honest, it actually looks like it's pretty well packaged. So we'll get it out and inspect the battery and make sure there's no damage to it. Okay, so I've just decided to lay it down and cut the side out. It's a bit easy to get it out, particularly if I've only got one hand because I'm holding the phone. So pull that out. Oh, that looks schmicky, doesn't it? You can see there that there's a bit of gap between the actual battery and the side of the box. And then down here, this is where one of the punctures were through the box. You can see the damage it's made. Through there, I can have a look. Well, it's obviously the foam's taken the brunt of it. You can just see where it was, but not appear to be any damage to the battery, which is excellent. Happy to do that. I want to send this thing back. Yep, and the same here, that's where the damage was at the front there. And you can see the indent where the damage made into the foam, pull away. Perfect. Not a scratch, not a dent. Alright, so I've just lifted the battery out of the box, and first impressions, because I've never really seen or felt anything like this before, to be honest. So it's actually really well made. It looks so tough. These brackets are nice and thick. They're all welded on, and feels rock solid, to be perfectly honest with you. Okay, so what I've done next is I've brought the panel back in again, and I've removed a lot of all the white clips that clip into the actual panel, so they've got one left there. To be able to remove them, you just sort of slide them off to one side and pull them out. It just enables me to fit the panel up without actually clipping it in every single time, and potentially breaking a clip or two each time. So I can fit it up, test it, fit it up, test it a few times without having to worry about it too much. Okay, so I pulled all the clips out. I can put the panel on and off as much times as I want without having to worry about breaking any of the clips. So just pulling it back, you can see from the standoffs there and there's a fair bit of room behind here as well, and there's a few bolts. So I've just grabbed a bolt that I had handy. So there's a bolt hole there, several other smaller bolt holes along here. It's not very stable there. Down there's not too bad. There's another bolt hole down there and another one there too. So the intention will be to actually make a frame. So put a frame in here that will enable me then to build another frame that I can remove when the panel's all fitted back up again as well. So build a frame in here, utilizing some bolt holes if I can, depending on how sturdy they are and where the accesses are. I may have to drill a couple of holes here to sort of put some extra bolts and that through to keep it as sturdy as possible because that battery weighs something like 16, 17 kilos. Trundling along some dirt roads, bumps and stuff like that, it's going to want to move. I don't want it to be a problem, you know, as far as flexing all this, and it might sort of cause some issues with creasing or something on the outside, or even you know, pulling the panels away from each other too. So I want this to be a pretty permanent fix, but also I want it to make it be a pretty schmick looking job as well, so it looks like it's meant to be there. All right, so we're going to have a little think about that and see what I've come up with, and we'll go from there. So I'm just making a bit of a template. As you can imagine, this thing is 16.5 kilograms, so trying to lift it up 1,000 times to sort of get a good placement for it up there is very difficult, especially inside the vehicle too. So I'm going to make up a dummy. So this is a packaging out of the box. I'm going to mark it up so it's similar size, similar thickness, and I can obviously will give me a much better usability as far as testing it out to fit it up and where it's going to go for the size, etc. I'm just going to cut it out, make sure it's thick enough. Okay, so this is what I've done. This is obviously the actual battery. You know, I said that battery was well packed inside the box. Well, it was. And what I've done is I've actually used the packaging that was inside the box and made up a template. So this is good because I won't have to worry about lifting 16 plus kilos in and out the vehicle all the time, potentially damaging it, dropping it, or scratching it. So this is pretty close to what it is as far as height and size and shape and that goes. So it'll give me a decent understanding of where it will fit and that sort of thing as well, save me having to lift this bugger around. And all I did to glue all this together was just use me like a $10 glue gun from Bunnings that I had already for a different project I was working on as well. It worked mint. I mean, looking at it really, you can't even tell the difference between the two, eh? Okay, so now I've got my template out. I've got my panel back in again to give you a bit of an idea of where it's going to go, and obviously pull those panels off the top of the side panel there. So this is the battery template, and this is going to be a bit of a tricky job, I think, to be able to get this into a position where it's going to be stable enough and obviously supportive enough to be able to mount it. So I'm going to have to see how I go. I don't really want to drill any holes through the trims or anything like that, but that might actually, through the panel I mean, sorry, but that might actually be a necessity. But I'll have a look at it and see what I can see. What might be a decent option to mount it. Okay, I've bit the bullet and sort of cut out the top section of that panel. Now, don't stress, and whatever you do, don't tell my missus, because she would string me up if she found out I did this. But I've still got the screw holes and everything there, so if I wanted to put the panels back on the top, screw them in from the back, and you wouldn't even know. It's a little bit floppy now, I suppose, because obviously it hasn't got that bracing between it, but I don't think it'll be too much of a problem with all the clips and everything that goes back to there as well. So what I'm looking to do is, as I said before, sort of build a frame in with some brackets in behind here and in behind here, and perhaps one in the middle. Bring it up to a plate under here, where I can actually put another bracket on top and bolt that down, and then perhaps cover it with a new plate or something like that. Okay, so what I've decided to do is, as I was talking about before, making a brace or an internal bracket that I can weld onto. So in there you can actually see a 50 by 5 mil piece of flat bar that I've bolted in, one bolt down there, making sure that I keep well away from the bracket for the seat belt and the airbag sensor. So it's sort of in between both of them. This is a captive bolt, so something that's there already, that was already part of the vehicle. That one there where the skin joins together, I have just drilled a small hole, making sure I keep away from this bracket here. And like I said, keep away from this as well, with the same sort of bolt going through with a nut on the back of it as well. So from there I can actually start planning a bracket to be welded onto here to come out through the hole in this bit, where I can bolt a nice piece of ply to and then mount the lithium battery. So I'm going to carry on and make the second one, which will be sort of down here somewhere, not too sure just yet. But that was a good test to start off with, and then once I've got those two established, then I can start planning the bits that come out through for the board to mount to for the battery. Okay, so I just decided to take this panel off the side here just to make it a little bit easier to see, and I found there's a couple of captive studs already in the frame here. So we've got a double skin that runs down through to here, and then there's a single skin. So this single skin bit's probably a little bit wobbly. I'm trying to catch on to this double skinned area, then brace it down through to here, and from there I should be able to make a bracket, but sort of want to get something similar set up like that, so that basically the foundation of the bracket at the end of the day. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a bit of flat bar, put it on here, drill the holes, and put some nuts on them, and then from there I'll measure it down, because what I'll do is I'll use this as an extra anchor point, so just relying on that single bolt just here, because it still is a little bit wobbly, so the load will be spread across these two and that one down, and obviously down to there as well. Okay, I've been busy yesterday, and this is what I come up with to brace inside the panel there. So yes, it looks a bit chunky, but it needs to be, because don't forget the battery is 16.5 kilos. So I've got 5 points of contact on this one here. This is one that's probably going to have most of the load on it, because the front of the battery is going to be about here. So when I make the bracket, which will run from over here, from this side over to that side there, that I can access from inside the vehicle without having to take the panel off. So these will be in here permanently, and when I put the panel back on in that area where I took those two covers off inside where the cup holders were and that blank piece was, I'll be able to access this. So if I needed to, I can just take the inverter off just by taking these two bolts out, because I've got welded in some captive nuts underneath here, and I've got two large high tensile bolts actually that were off a vehicle for holding suspension and that together, to be able to hold the rest of the bracket assembly, which is what I plan to build today. So but removing those two bolts, the one here and one over on the other bracket there, I'll be able to remove the whole bracket and the inverter off and out of the vehicle if I needed to, for whatever reason. Plan not to, but we'll see how we go. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have a bit of a cleanup. I'm going to tidy up a lot of the mess inside here, clean up, give it a wash, get rid of all this dust and stuff like that, put all the panels and everything back together again, and then I'm going to start on the second stage of the inverter bracket. Okay, so I've had a good clean up, got rid of any swarf and just bits of sand and dirt and stuff like that, make it a little bit tidier. Put the panels back in, so the top panel's in, obviously the main panel is in. So let's have a look inside here. You can see there's the front bracket and the rear bracket. So now the inside part, probably the hardest bit I'd say, is complete, and now it's time to have a look at and see what I need to do about getting this next bit finished off. Okay, so a little bit of an update. I've put all the panels back in now, so everything is back in, clipped in where it normally needs to go. And this is the bracket that I've made on top. So you can see we've got one bolt there, the bolt here that bolt in through to those captive nuts that I showed you just a little while ago, and I've made up this flat bar. I've got some 25mm by 3mm wall box section, 50mm by 5mm flat bar on either ends here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some MDF put it on here, pre-drill all the holes ready to go, and then I'm going to cover it with some carpet, and then mount the inverter. I might even put some angle on the bottom too, just for the inverter to sit on as well, just to sort of take the weight rather than just hanging off the bolts as such. But ultimately, so I fitted the bracket. I got some MDF 16mm, cut it to size, carpeted it, put this little aluminium angle piece on the bottom there with a little tiny strip of carpet. I glued it on with just a small like craft glue gun to sort of help it stay. That's just to sort of take some of the weight. So I don't know if you can see down here, but you can see the bracket there. There's a bolt there. There's the other bolt. It's all obviously welded up and painted just satin black, just sort of let it blend in, I guess, out of the way. It's actually pretty sturdy, so I can barely even move that. I don't know if you can see that or not, but so now it's time to mount the battery, and see how it goes. I've got some holes already pre-drilled ready to go, so I should be just about to slot on that ledge there, fold it up and push the bolts through then and do the bolts up, hopefully. You may have noticed that it's not quite level with the window, so the window does go up a bit at the back. So with the car sitting here as it is, pretty loaded except for a couple of things that I normally have in the back. You can see it's level. Okay, well, I had a little bit of a change of plans because I didn't really leave myself much space behind there to get a bolt through, get the nut on. The ones I had were a bit long anyway, so what I decided to do was I took the backing off with the bracket, the two bolts at the top there, put it on the bench, mounted the lithium inverter battery. As you can see, it's pretty heavy altogether, a bit pooped out, but that's it. That's the finished product. I've still got to do some wiring and that sort of thing, and change my BCDC charger from AGM to lithium. But that's for another day. Also, I've got a little bit of a job to do up here. I'm going to make up a plate, or not a plate, sorry, a bit of wood with some carpet on just to cover that hole up, make it all nice, look nice and pretty. Use it for a storage area for bits and pieces, but ultimately, that's it. It's the finished job. It actually came up pretty good. Oh, and right, I can. So it's so tough, I can hardly even move it. So I'm very happy with the strength of it at the moment. Time will tell, of course, if there's any issues down the track, but ultimately it seems pretty good to start off with. Okay, so that's it, all finished installed. I've put my floor and everything back in again. Obviously I've run the wiring and put the 175 amp Anderson connector in there, which is charging through the solar panel on the roof at the moment, nice and steadily. Well, the sun's out anyway, at least. So that's turned out to be pretty good. I'm just going to have a little crack at making up a cover for that and putting some black carpet that I've got left over on it. Going to use the cup holders and a blank panel that came out of it as a bit of a template, and see how we go. Okay, in the last video you would have seen me just sort of saying what I was going to do in the back here. So you can see down through there, probably just, it's a little bit dark because the car's parked in the garage now. But I just cut up a few pieces using those cup holders and the blank as a template, split them up, covered them in carpet, and you can sort of really hardly tell. It's actually going to be a pretty good spot for you know, storing stuff. And if I need to get the bolts, I'll just put a little tag on this one here, so I can just pull it up and I can access down underneath there. And yeah, so that's turned out pretty good too. Well, if you got this far, it looks like you've got to the end of the video. So I'm hoping this is going to be able to help some people, you know, who've got a 200 series cruiser and might want to do something similar, if, you know, down the track, if they've got the same situation like I had with the battery in the back of the vehicle. So all right, so thanks very much for watching, and I'm hoping this helps someone down the track. I'll catch you later.